Do you often play with yourself? Even if not, your brain is most likely sexualized. In modern society, sexualization is one of the most dangerous traps you should avoid. For all of you who are struggling with it and want to succeed on NoFap, here are 5 methods to stop playing with yourself. Watch until the end. The last one is the most effective, but none of them work alone. Before starting NoFap and all, you obviously need to know why you need to start it in the first place. I will quickly recommend a 45-minute video for you to watch about the dangers of addiction, especially porn. It is called Your Brain on Porn by Free Med Education. Link is in the description. If you don't have time, here's a quick recap. Do you recognize this sound? That tells a lot. In the last decade, access to adult content has become so much easier that even people who don't watch it know about it. Since there is everything you are looking for, and more, on these websites, this sort of content is more stimulating than even real sex and makes you feel unnatural amounts of pleasure. That is why it is so addictive and damaging to your brain. Normally, the pleasure hormone in your brain, dopamine, is released in small amounts when you do something that benefits you, such as after a workout. However, it is also a motivation hormone. Therefore, when you think about doing that thing again, a proportionally smaller amount of dopamine is released. When the dopamine reward is so large, the motivation is so large, and therefore you spiral out of control when you even consider watching porn. Besides biological damage to your brain, watching porn does psychological damage as well. The more you watch porn and associate your personality with it, you start seeing women more in sexual ways. At some point, they lose all humanity for you. Porn takes away from real sex and relations and ruins marriages. This lack of appetite for regular relations with the opposite sex also lowers your confidence, which then lowers your testosterone. You hear a lot of self-improvement YouTubers talk about NoFap benefits. However, the benefits are simply getting rid of the harm that has been done to you. The increase in testosterone is simply you getting back where you should naturally be. Do not approach it as a challenge. It is just abstinence from the harmful. Now that you know the what's and whys of NoFap, let's start. Method 1. The brute force way. The reason I call this brute force is that it is tremendously difficult to do from the start. This method is just trying your best to not do it, without any trickery to yourself, just trying to do what is right. A cycle of constant failure and relapse until they become farther and farther away from each other. This will take long, but it still works. Gradually, you will forget why you liked fapping in the first place as your dopamine levels return to normal. I do not advise you to use solely this method due to its sheer longevity. Method 2. Dissociation. An addict has created associations in his brain with the addiction itself. For example, lying in bed means fapping, or seeing boobs on Instagram means fapping. This method is to rid yourself of those associations by doing 2 things. First, you will remove those triggers, such as lying in bed with your phone or browsing TikTok. Stay away from those triggers and you will be reminded of it less. Next, you will dissociate yourself in that addiction, saying, "I don't fap." This is why you don't count days, approach it as a challenge, or see it as a quitting journey. You have already quit. You are not the type of person that faps, you have to believe that. Dissociate yourself from the addiction, and it will fade away from your life. You have to apply this method no matter what. It is almost necessary, unless you already have a will of steel, in which case you wouldn't have an addiction anyway. Method 3. Hate. There is a book I recommended to every single man a couple of days back. It is called The Education of the Will. A section in the book talks about how to use strong emotions to reprogram your will, and this method is exactly that. The trick is to build reasoning in your brain that fapping is what is causing certain problems you are facing. Come up with a phrase such as, "Fapping makes me weak," then repeat it consistently. You will start to hate the act and will stop wanting to do it despite the dopamine release. This trick is applicable to any addiction, and even scenarios opposite of that, where you want to build a habit. I recommend you implement this method in your life. It is immensely powerful. Method 4. Accountability. All three methods until now rely on your ability to hold yourself accountable. For advanced cases of addictions, this is usually not possible. In this case, you have to find yourself someone who will keep you accountable for what you do. Yes, I know that there is a taboo around sex, but there are many people in this world who will understand you for what you are trying to do. Talk to a friend you call your brother, or one of your parents. They might get angry, but that is what you want anyway. Hiding it from your parents was what you were doing as a child, and the reason is that they wouldn't allow it. Now, you don't want to be allowed to do that. So use this opportunity. Don't be ashamed. Be proud that you have left that phase behind when you are speaking to them. This is by far the most powerful method, but hard to use if you don't live with your parents and don't have a close friend. Method 5, the Almighty. This is a controversial one, so if you are the type of person who cannot stand different opinions, leave now. No matter what religion you believe in, there are rules. There are things that are banned. In most true-to-self religions, masturbation is one. I am going to go from the example of Islam, as it is what I believe in. I respect your beliefs if yours says something different, but know that this applies to beliefs such as Catholicism as well. In Islam, masturbation is haram, or banned by the religion. If you are a follower of the religion or have ever done research on it, you would know most things that are haram are because they are harmful to the person in some way. This is no different, but an obvious ban makes it easier for you to just avoid it completely. This, still, is not the main power of this method. I am going to tell you about something I experienced some years ago. I was still a teenager back then and addicted to porn. I was trying to tell myself to quit, but could never keep that promise. Then, I started praying to Allah to guide me to stay away from sins. I prayed every day, and the praying obviously helped me to convince myself to start NoFap. After a while, something happened. I was about to fap. I had just opened a video and was fully focused on my computer. Then, my mother entered the room. I alt-tabbed the fastest I ever did in my life, and she didn't see it. But when she was gone, when I looked back, I realized what I was about to do. That was the last time I remember myself getting that close to sinning like that again. Allah has guided me away from it, and will do the same for you. God, in all major religions, is all-loving and all-forgiving. There is no self-inflicted problem strong faith can't get you out of. After this one, don't go and watch another NoFap video. If you haven't watched the video I recommended, look at that if you are still curious about the science. But that's it. You are no longer a guy that faps. That is over. It is not a part of your personality. I recommend you implement all these methods in your life. You will not regret it. Don't forget, knowledge without action is no use. After this video, you may watch more, but don't restrain from applying the information you gain to your life. Stay tuned for my next videos. We will all make it.